Welcome and thank you for joining us for this informative video, Building Fiber Broadband Networks Across America with STL. Daniel Romer of STL is my guest today. Daniel, thanks very much for joining us for a discussion about fiber optic cabling technologies in the future.
Yeah, Patrick, thank you for having me. Absolutely.
Thanks again for joining us. We'd like to dive right in with a couple of questions about fiber optic technologies, their applications, and so on. Starting with kind of a macro view of it, I mean, the market overall for optical fiber consumption, it appears to have both tailwinds and headwinds. You know, on the tailwind front, we're talking about broadband connectivity in the United States. We've got BEAD and RDOF initiatives that really are pushing the use and deployment of optical fiber optic cable. Post-pandemic rollouts are still, favorable for the market. On the other hand, we've got some headwinds. We've got economic uncertainty. We keep hearing about the possibility of a recession. Some people believe we're in a recession. Some people believe it's coming. There's just not a lot of certainty there. And at the same time, supply chain has been an issue for some time now. So wondered if I could throw that macro question at you, Daniel, and ask how you see those forces, those tailwinds and those headwinds playing themselves out in the near term.
Yeah, I think it's a great place to start, Patrick. And we live in interesting times. I think COVID has exposed a need for better and more broadband in North America in general, which is leading to an historical build out of broadband networks. If you combine that with some of the current economical climate, you see that the market is still cyclical and has been cyclical for the past 30 years. Now, the overarching goal we have in North America and the US specifically is to build out to 100% of homes passed with adequate broadband. 99% of those homes will be passed with fiber. And the most rural occasions, there'll be some other solutions, but by and large, fiber will be the backbone of America's network. It had been projected that in the next 5 years, there'll be more fiber placed than in the last 25 years combined, just to paint a picture. Like I mentioned, that is still going to be a cyclical nature. We're dealing with weather, we're dealing with supply chain issues for a lot of products. I think right now we're in a dip for a couple months. We see some shorter lead times. We see some demand release. There's a big buildup of inventories with a lot of end users. That's going to be worked through for the next 3 to 6 months. And then I expect us to be in a situation again where demand will outpace supply significantly. You mentioned RDOF and BEAD. Just those two funds alone represent $65 billion of investments in broadband infrastructure. That's just two of a handful of public funds that are out there. So it's going to become very economically sensible in the next 5 years for ISPs to build networks and connect rural America. And that's going to be the major driver behind the fuel behind the industry in the next 5 years. You mentioned supply chain issues. Again, COVID exposed a lot of weaknesses in the global supply chain. As an industry, but as STL specifically, we have done a lot to strengthen that supply chain. We have used our global manufacturing footprint and our global footprint of suppliers to make sure we have enough raw materials. We made sure we secured labor. We have long-term logistics contracts in place. So we are doing everything from a supplier point of view that we need to do to provide products quickly. So we are not the hurdle for the broadband build out.
Excellent, thank you. I want to pick up on part of what you mentioned there, specifically, the initiative to connect 100% of U.S. residences with broadband, and like you said, 99% of those will be connected with fiber. We project the issue with that, or an issue with that is talked about in many circles and widely acknowledged, is the human resource factor, right? How can we find qualified people to carry out these projects? And many are concerned that the newcomers to this industry who are doing the installations may not be as qualified as maybe they should be to carry out these projects and to successfully install the fiber. So enough of that gloom and doom approach. Asking you representing STL, a manufacturer of products serving this industry. What can you do? What do you do, STL, as a provider of products to contribute to not the problem, but to contribute to the solution of the workforce challenges that are coming with this rollout?
Yeah, you're spot on. One stat that is widely used and seems to be very accurate and supportive of data is that we need about 1.5 million installers in the next 5 years to do the work. We currently in the US have about 700,000. So we need to more than double the workforce in order to meet the goals. Again, the goal of connecting 100% of America is very important. It needs to happen quickly. So that is the main problem that needs to be solved. From a manufacturing point of view, our influence is limited. What we can do, anticipating that there's a lot of newly trained workforce, a lot of people that are under extreme deadline pressure, time pressure to get homes connected, is make it as easy as possible to use our products in the field. So what does that mean? We focus on very high density cables. So we make the cable smaller, lighter. We can fit more on a reel. You can blow or pull more cable in a single installation. So you speed up the process. Another major focus for us is the fiber itself. We want to provide the highest quality fiber that is very forgiving in the field, where the technician doesn't get punished for unnecessary micro bends, for example. What we have done is in 2019, we were the first to introduce a backwards compatible A2 fiber. We call it Stellar. So the A2 fiber spec is the most bend insensitive fiber you can use in the fiber to the home installation. That is what we want to introduce and make it backwards compatible into a network. So again, for the installation point of view, it's as if you're using a legacy 652D fiber. This makes it very easy for the installer to use. The ISP gets the benefit because the network is more robust. It's less sensitive to light loss, and it's a better service for the consumer. So at the end of the day, everybody wins.
Excellent. And it sounds like in the explanation that you just provided, we're really talking about the combination of quantity and quality, right? Talk about the quantity of fibers. Very high fiber count cables are going to be used in a lot of places to accomplish the connectivity goals that the nation has. At the same time, the quality of that fiber, sounds like it can be an issue, but it's something that STL is addressing, both quality and quantity being factors in the rollout of the future.
Absolutely. If you go back 15 years ago, 144 fiber cable was an extremely high count. Now we're talking about cables with almost 7,000 fibers, so 6912. So the need for bandwidth is ever increasing, and it's only going to keep increasing. So you're right. We're focusing on high capacity cables that can carry a lot of data today and carry even more data into the future, so the ISP can scale up. We want the networks to be built today to be good for the next 25 to 35 years. We don't want our customers to have to overbuild 3 years from now because nobody is served by that. And on top of that, you mentioned the quality, and that's very important. I think we need to stick to industry standards, the GR20 standard from Telcordia, for example. We need to make sure that the products going into the ground today are built for the future. We don't want to keep building every 5 years and have these crazy cycles. We want to make sure that what we build now is usable for the consumer at the end of the day.
Excellent. Daniel, thank you very much for this conversation. Very enlightening about what's to come and the brightness of the future for fiber deployment. Thank you again for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.